Hello everybody, I'm Lytisha.
And I'm Jeanette.
Welcome to Multiple Shenanigans. This episode is green memories. Not necessarily green memories, but memory and green. So, Janine.
Jeanette. That's perfect for an episode about memory.
I was trying to ask you, Jeanette, how is your green? Do you often find with MS you run words into one another?
Yes.
Jeanette.
Anyway, Lytisha, how has your week been?
My week's been, it's one of those weeks where I'd have to look in my diary to tell you how it's been.
Perfect for memory week.
How's your week been, Jeanette?
Yeah, a bit sleepy. It's probably just the time of year. Can't think of anything massively eventful that's happened, to be honest.
I can.
Oh, go on then.
You found something.
Oh yes! Found my phone after about a month. We had the settee out. I thought I was going to have to cut the underneath open to get it, and lifted a very, very heavy mattress. And I just looked and I couldn't see it anywhere. But I've just literally been through every pocket, every drawer, everything. And then it was lodged down the side of the mattress. Like, if you looked above, you couldn't see it. It was just hiding.
Wow.
Just thank God. I know life's not, I've coped, but it's better to have it back.
It's better to have your phone. Yeah. It's amazing how much we rely on our phones. Like, even when you do your banking and things, they contact you via the phone, and everybody checks ID via the phone, and nightmare. So I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased that you found your phone. Yes. I know what I've been doing this week. This new medication that I mentioned that I was on, which is for trigeminal neuralgia, it seems to make me sleep for a long time, but when I wake up, I'm suddenly awake and full of energy, as opposed to my normal getting there kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I've moved furniture, much like yourself, but not in search of a phone. I've moved some furniture around. Well, just a mirror and a bookcase, really, not a big bookcase, because I was getting all excited about Christmas and the fact that I might want to put a Christmas tree up.
No.
I can't have it where it was before because there's a sofa there, and I'm in the house on my own, so I'm not moving the sofa through the door and into the other room, because it's definitely a two-person job. So I was very excited when I worked out where I could put a Christmas tree. So it's all ready. I haven't got one yet, but it's all ready for a Christmas tree.
Hooray! That's nice.
Yeah, very exciting. And it probably means that, you know, tomorrow, the day after, and the day after that, I'll just be laying on the sofa looking at the space where the tree could go, because I'll be completely worn out. But that's okay. It's okay. Do things bit by bit.
Yeah, that's it. Or just try and do them all in one day and then have to write off the next week.
Yeah, that's probably mostly what I did. Yeah.
I had quite a funny phone call actually because I've recently had to switch the hospitals, because I'll explain this later, but I was at Sheffield and I had to swap over this year to be at Nottingham, and I had to go and see the neurologist there, and I had a follow-up call this week. And
on your mobile?
On my mobile, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was good because I knew it was coming, and I was like, I've got to find the mobile for this call. Anyway, during the call, I seemed to illustrate everything question they were asking me. I kind of illustrated the answer almost. So she said to me, are you having any problems with walking at the moment? I said, I'm not anymore. No, I'm like really good at walking. And I was on my mobile. I'm really good at walking now. And then I promptly walked into a box as I was talking to her. As I was going, yeah, my balance and walking are amazing. Wow.
Yeah, That would illustrate it.
And then she carried on to ask, I said, oh, I think maybe memory and thinking's getting a bit worse. And she said, oh, do you need to see an OT, like occupational therapist? And I was like, oh, well, I've seen somebody before. And then in trying to explain to her who this person was and what they did, completely illustrated that probably, yes, it would be helpful. I was like, it was a person and he did some things and can't remember who he was, when it was, or where it was. so yeah, she was like, I'm going to make you an appointment.
Yeah, show and tell. It's a show and tell phone call.
It was. Well, that's the thing. You find different ways, don't you?
You do. So perhaps I might explain that Jeanette and I met at memory school. Which is something we were going to mention at the beginning of this podcast.
Yeah. Go back and
yeah. Yeah. So we both went along to this. This is a good day because I'm having bad memory week as well. So feel free to jump in, Jeanette. So we both went along to a place that's part of the University of Nottingham, which is part of the hospital.
Was it Jubilee campus? Is that what
Jubilee campus? Yeah. And there was a group of us in there for a series of 6-8 months.
Yeah, it was a while, wasn't it?
Yeah, for quite a while. Yeah. And it was about monthly we met, wasn't it? Once a month?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, so we met up roughly once a month for a period of time in a building with some people. And they were looking at ways that memory affects you and exercises and things that we can do to improve our memories or work around the situation, which is what you were just saying, work around the situation. And it was really interesting how diverse the differences in memory were. We all had different memory issues, but I mean, some people were really good at visual reconstruction, remembering things visually, and others were better at audible, and others were better at speaking. It was really, I found it really interesting. What did you think, Jeanette?
Yeah, it was good, definitely. I mean, I can't remember much of it. But yeah, it was definitely good to kind of be around people who are experiencing the same thing, because one of slightly difficult things when if you tell somebody you have memory problems, just like a friend or and they always go, oh yeah, I get that, and you're like, oh, it's not quite the same. And I always want to just go, oh my god, you should go get a scan or something.
Have you had an MRI? Have you had a lumbar puncture?
It's like, you don't want to be rude,
no,
but it's not the same.
No, it's not the same.
Like throughout my whole life, I've always forgotten my keys and stuff, but it's up a few levels from that now. And you don't want to be rude, but yeah, it's nice to be able to talk to people who really get that.
Yeah, I think my brother was pretty good at understanding, but one particular occasion he was in Nottingham and I'd gone to the Victoria Centre. I'd driven to Victoria. I lived at the time very near, but I couldn't cross the road to get there, so I'd driven there and parked in the car park. And I would normally have parked in the disabled spaces, but they were full, so I'd parked in a different space on the same level. And I went to the shop and I came back and I could not remember where my car was. I couldn't find it. I couldn't remember where it was at all. And I got in such a tizzy because I couldn't find it. So I managed to get myself up to the parking people on the top floor and explained that I couldn't find my car, and they could see I was really upset about it. And they looked on the pictures and they found it and they told me where it was and how to get there. But obviously by the time I'd left them, I'd forgotten how to get there. And it was just like, oh, and I must have been an hour. And I was just getting really upset. And I just, in the end, I phoned my brother and said, I can't find my car. He said, has it been stolen? I was like, I don't know. It's where did you leave it? Where are you? I said, I'm in the Victoria Centre. So he walked over to the Victoria Centre, took my keys off me, and had to walk around the car park flipping to try and find my car.
Oh.
And he found it, but he couldn't drive it because he'd had a drink because he'd been out somewhere else earlier. So he had to remember where it was and come and get me and take me over to it. And he's going, oh my God. Oh, I could just see myself getting nicked. This bloke who's obviously had a drink, wandering around a car park, blipper truck. And then trying to explain, it's my sister's car, she's lost it.
To be like, what? No.
He found it, we got there. So
Oh.
2 hours later, I got in my car after my 20-minute outing. Yeah.
One time I went to my dad's, and I'd been there so many times. I'd drive in, got to a certain point, and I had no idea where to go next. I was like, had to pull into a car park. Dad, I've forgotten where you live. You had to come and get me. So it's like,
and yet other times everything's fine, it all works. I mean, that's the only time I've seriously lost my car that I can remember.
And it's not just memories, it's like the associated bits that go with it. Like you can't quite put together, like general processing I really struggle with sometimes. And like when you call people the wrong name and put two words together.
Does that happen, Janine?
When people you know pretty well and you forget their name, and it's really difficult to not be offensive. I've just completely forgotten who you are.
And what I find is really horrendous if you go to introduce two people that you know really well and you can't remember either of their names. If you can remember one name, you can say, what I do is I'll say, oh, this is Jeanette, and then I'll walk away, so then Jeanette can introduce herself to the other person by saying, what's your name? Because I can't tell them what their name is. I might have known them for 20 years and see them every week, but
yeah.
Have you ever forgotten your husband's name?
No, I think we're okay. I do forget to introduce, like.
Oh, okay.
So you just like meet people and he's there like, excuse me, please acknowledge me.
Oh.
Yeah, that's tragic, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there's so many of these little things where I just get so paranoid because I'm worried that I come across as really rude because I'm not doing the things that you're supposed to do.
I am aware that sometimes I go off to La La Land and I might just be standing there completely vacantly when somebody's talking to me. And then I feel really awful, but I can't seem to get back from La La Land to talk to them.
Yeah, you've got to try and not be too hard on yourself. I'm always like post-conversation thinking, I didn't ask them about this or this like you're supposed to. I must look like a jerk.
It's the holes in the brain. It's the things that fall through the holes in the brain.
Yeah, and it's a difficult one because you don't want to be like, this is my excuse for this. But yeah. It is. And the times I've got kind of in difficulty, but like when I was working and people would say, oh, you didn't remember this, and it's always been because I've not been upfront about it. I've been trying to play it down or haven't said anything about it, tried to pretend that I just don't have MS.
It is hard, especially when you've just met new people. You can't go, hi, I'm Lytisha, I've got MS, so I might be a bit vacant, a bit rude, or just forget who you are.
Yeah.
Really, hi.
My tragedy.
And tell me about your issues. It's not really your kind of introductory thing, is it?
Yeah, and it just looks like you're trying to dominate a conversation. Yeah. So, oh no, I forgot again.
You say about when to say.
We were going to say like, so we met at Memory Club, but what?
Oh yeah.
Journey to Memory Club. How did you qualify for Memory?
How did I qualify for Memory Club? Well, I was first diagnosed 3 days before my 33rd birthday, and I remember saying, but I can't have MS. I've got a party and there's 42 people coming.
Impressive amount for a...
It was a joint party, to be fair, but yeah, thanks. And so they said, oh, well, we better pump you full of drugs then. And that's when I had the first time I had a steroid drip, so that I could go to my own birthday party. Well, not just so I could go to my own birthday party, but so I could function
party.
and go to my party. Yeah.
What were the symptoms?
Well, my first symptoms was I lost my face. I couldn't feel my face. No, when I was a late teens, when I was 19, I had chronic fatigue. So I had ME. And then for years, when I had odd things, I kept thinking, oh, it's ME. But then when I came to Nottingham, when I moved to Nottingham, not long after I'd been here, I couldn't feel my face. It just sort of disappeared, and it was really weird. And I kept going to the doctor and they couldn't see anything. They sent me to maxillofacial unit. I love that word. I'd never heard of it before. And they couldn't find anything wrong. And then I couldn't feel my fingers. I thought, this is just getting weirder and weirder. And then I went to my GP, and it was a locum, not a locum, a beginner. What are they called? A junior doctor, a doctor that had only just started, that was still under supervision. Yeah. So she saw me, and I think she worked out what it was straight away. And she went away and got the supervising doctor to come in and check what she was doing. And then they sent me off to Queen's Hospital. Oh, for that appointment. Oh, yes, I remember now. That appointment was awful, because, not the appointment, but I rang the GP and got the dragon at the desk, and I was trying to explain that I needed the doctor to come out to see me because I couldn't walk. And she was saying, well, why can't you walk? I said, well, I don't know why I can't walk. I just can't walk. I woke up one morning and everything below here I couldn't control. I couldn't make it do anything. And she said, well, you'll need to come in and see the GP. I said, well, no, the doctor comes to me. She said, no, you have to come in. Made me go in. So I did. I don't know how I got there. I know it took me, it was literally a 10-minute walk from where, should be a 10-minute walk from where I lived. It was actually in the Victoria Centre, funny enough, just talking about it. It was just the other side of it. And so I needed to come out of my flat, cross one road, walk around the corner, cross Mansfield Road, get to the other side of the Victoria Centre, and it was there. So not a long journey, but 2 roads to cross, 3 roads to cross. And I managed to get, I don't know how I did this, but I got out of my house and I went to cross the first road that I lived on, and there was a garage on the corner. And the guys all stopped and started watching me, and they're, you really pissed? You've been drinking at this time of day? No. Because obviously my legs were just not going in leg order. They were just really, I felt a bit like a baby giraffe, you know, with a bit leg here and a leg there, and then, oh, I've forgotten to move that one here. And it must have taken me about 40 minutes, 50 minutes to get to the doctor's. Yeah. And I just got there and collapsed. And that's when I met that GP who did all the tests and said, I think you need to go to Queen's, to the hospital. So that was my initial diagnosis. So it started off with me losing my face, then I lost my fingers, both of which at the GP, so that was over about 6 months. And then I just woke up one morning and I couldn't make things do anything. Couldn't feel anything, couldn't make anything do anything. That was weird. So yeah, from there I got the doctor said, you need to go to the hospital, but you need to get someone to go with you, and you need to take a packed lunch with you because you're going to be there a long time.
Packed lunch.
Packed lunch, okay. But again, she was right, because I wasn't able to get up and walk to a vending machine or anything while I was there, and I hadn't. So yeah, it was good that I took a sandwich with me, because I was there a long time.
If in doubt, always take a sandwich.
Yeah. Got your picnic ready. Where are you off to today? is it Queen's? Is it City? Which hospital is it today? Oh no, it's the Park. No, it's hospital.
You can
Yes.
never regret that.
No.
At that point when you need a sandwich and you're waiting for medical professionals, got your sandwich.
So that was my initial diagnosis story. How about yours?
Well, similar elements. So it pretty much for me came on overnight. So I was starting this business, which is, and I'm making a website for it, and it was all like, all the website's going to launch tomorrow, and putting it was a bit stressful. So we were waiting for this website, and it launched, and then I was like, oh, I feel really weird, like the whole of my left-hand side has kind of gone numb. It's really odd. I didn't think too much about it, but obviously that's not a thing that happens every day. And then over the next few days, it kind of, my arm got really heavy, and I was like, and in a similar way, I went to doctors, and straight away it was one of those junior doctors who was like, I think I'm going to send you for some tests, but this is what I think they're going to be looking for. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's interesting, because she didn't tell me what she thought it was, but I knew that she knew what she thought it was.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah, but she sent me for some tests.
So then I went and had the MRI and lumbar puncture and stuff. And first of all, they said, oh, you've got transverse myelitis. Because at the start, I only had lesions on my kind of back of my spinal column. And so I'd had to say at work that I was going to have time off because this had happened. And I was like, yeah, but the good thing is it's not MS. They thought it might be. Mm-hmm. And then quickly after that, so this is like 2007, end of 2007. And then within a couple of months, and my arm was always like, it was a bit weird for ages. And then we went down, it was always like going on family journeys. Went down to Alex's sisters and got there and just fell asleep on the settee watching a film. And then I tried to get up, but the same thing, like legs weren't working. I couldn't get up the stairs or anything. And then I just couldn't physically move. It was, and it was like being like really nauseous, and which found out later it was kind of vertigo.
Yeah,
I was just sick loads, and then that lasted about 2 days, this is the worst thing I think I've had, just because it feels like you're drunk. And it's
really hard to explain that your limbs are not working, isn't it? If you try and say, but I can't get my legs up the stairs, people don't really get what you mean.
But the first time it happened, one of Alex's friends, whose mum had MS, came up, and he pretty much said, yeah, he didn't even say you've got it, he just talked to me like I did have it. But I kind of liked that, because it was like, we're not messing about now, we know what we're dealing with. And yeah. So it went from there, and I had quite a lot of relapses within that first 2 years. But then I got onto a medical trial at the hospital in Sheffield, which is kind of where I've just left after about 11 years on a trial.
Wow.
It was quite emotional, like, because I got so much, I was like having so many relapses and quite severe, and then I got so much better. So it was quite weird, really.
And do you know what you were on in the trial? Do you know what you?
It was Alemtuzumab, which is now called Lemtrada, I think.
I've not tried it, but I know of it. Yeah.
I was originally on. I was going to say what it was. One of the injected ones.
Avanex.
I think it began with a C.
Okay.
One of them. But it didn't work. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the journey.
So how old were you when you had your first symptoms that you know of?
I was 28.
It's interesting because when they just diagnosed the MS, they made me go through my ME symptoms again and said, that would be ME, that would be ME, that was probably MS.
Oh, weird.
So I'd only felt like I'd suddenly become not ME-ish when I was about 28, 29. Yeah, I suddenly felt like I didn't have to think, I'll do this today and rest tomorrow and the next day. I wasn't planning my life that way. I suddenly became aware that I'd been out 3 nights in 1 week and that was it. And I was like, but I'm still here and it worked. And it was just like, wow, it's almost like being normal. And yeah, so I had a couple of years like that. And then I had the tingles and then the big relapse. And then I was like, oh.
That's well hard.
It was nice while it lasted. I used to learn salsa, merengue. I used to go dancing twice a week, 4 or 5 hours a day, a night rather, after work, drive for an hour. I lived in Buxton then, so I'd finish work, drive up to Manchester, dance for about 3 hours, drive home for an hour, go to bed, get up, go to work. It was really nice. It was like having a life.
Can you imagine that?
Yeah, did that for a while.
Good to tell our little stories.
Yeah.
Or journeys, as people like to call it in the MS world.
On Strictly they go on a journey. I'd much rather go on that journey.
Yeah, that's a fun journey.
Yeah.
What has kind of made the difference, because with me it was getting on that trial, has anything made a big difference for you?
Having a diagnosis, I think, made the biggest difference. It's like, okay, I don't have to keep fighting against this thing, pretending it's not happening. It's a thing. I just have to learn to live with it. When I had that, when I did get sent to the hospital, I had an MRI that day, and then they sent me home and said that I'd go back in a week's time for a lumbar puncture. So I'd rung my mum, who lived down in London. I said, Mum, I'm not very well. She went, right, okay. Do you want me to come up? I said, no, I think I want to go to sleep for a while. You come up in about 3 or 4 days' time. And because she's used to me, like with my ME, if I need to sleep, I just had to sleep and that was it. There's no point somebody else being there because I'll just be asleep and ignore them. So I said, and I've got to go back for another thing, and that would be good if you come with me. So she came with me. She said, do you know what it is? I said, no, I don't know what it is, but I think it's quite bad because they haven't told me what it is. My poor mum, thinking back, to get a phone call like that. It's like, I'm 200 miles away. I've got a thing that's really bad, but I don't know what it is, but don't come up because I'll be asleep.
Don't worry.
It's fine. Then she came up with me, and then we went back for the lumbar puncture, and then she was asking questions because my brain was not functioning to do question asking really. What was quite lucky on that day, there was an exhibition and some people from the MS Society were there with all their leaflets, and it was actually a day that they were there. So my mum went and spoke to them, collected all the leaflets for me, but I couldn't talk to them then because my brain wasn't working at that point. But it was really good because that she'd collected all that stuff. So about 3 or 4 weeks later, when I thought, right, I wonder what this is then. If I'd got well enough to work out it's a thing, let's see what it is and what we deal with it. So information that literature is really useful. And I have, I'm really pleased, grateful to the MS Society for that, really. Yeah.
Shout out to the MS Society.
I'm going to pick up the MS Society with my, I don't know if you can see it, my MS Society label.
Oh yeah, I got it. My mum came to the lumbar puncture with me actually. It kind of made it better because her face looking so worried, I was like, are you okay, Mum? It's quite a thing, but yeah, just was like, oh.
Well, I was completely numb at that point, and I remember the doctor saying, push back against my hand, and I said, I can't feel your hand. My mum's going, oh, you know, because they all said it might hurt. I was like, can't feel anything. I can't feel anything. So there was that bonus. I didn't feel my lumbar puncture.
It's more just like a weird pressure, and it's not painful or anything, is it? The worst is not the worst. Having the steroids
Zooming round.
put in.
Infusion.
I had a load of junior doctors do that. That was something else. Oh, just missed it. Try again. Just kept trying and trying till your hand is like a bruised.
Oh.
I've been on this trial in Sheffield for ages, and now I'm not. That's it.
Okay. Brilliant.
It's quite good because they sent taxis to pick you up.
Take you to Sheffield. Nice.
Yeah, like some kind of celebrity when you're on a drugs trial.
Oh, I missed that.
Private load of taxi company, and all of the taxi drivers bred dogs. It's very odd. It's like a little weird community of taxi drivers who breed dogs. Sounds like I dreamt this. I did not. At the start of the trial, because he ended up going on the trial, then the extension trial, then the extension of the extension trial, and then I think it got to the extension of the extension of the extension trial. And so you'd be there 4 times a year, and you would see the same people when you went back. And so when I got the letter this summer that said, oh, I'm going to have to hand you back over to Nottingham, because they gave me the option to stay, but I'd have to go to Sheffield and I wouldn't get an MS nurse and all that stuff. I had a little cry. I was like, oh my God, it's like the end of a
era.
And it was all because I went to university in Sheffield. I lived just the street next to the hospital when I was in my first year. So it was all dead familiar and weird. So yeah, that was...
So should we just quickly touch on green before we need to wrap it up?
Green.
Can I tell you about my green then?
Yes, after you.
Well, this, well, you can't see it, is a cardie that I got from a charity shop that has got multicoloured buttons, which I particularly like.
Yeah, I like that.
It makes me feel a little bit like I'm 5, but with a grown-up jumper.
Yeah.
And this, I'll come on to this afterwards. If you tell us about your green, then...
But first time on. Because I got it when we went to New York with Rhymes Against Humanity, where we were supposed to have a show, and me and my friend Nikki were going to be there for St. Patrick's Day. I'd already bought the shirt, but I was like, yeah, I could wear this for St. Patrick's Day. Just before we went, St. Patrick's Day was cancelled as a thing, and then I thought, I'll wait for the show that we're doing. This is all pandemic related. So I got there on the Wednesday. We got into New York. On the Thursday, all of Broadway was shut down and all the smaller theatres were shut down. So we'd gone to New York to just hang around at the start of a pandemic. So that was an interesting start to the year, but I had a green shirt that I could wear months later.
My beads have got an American tie as well.
Oh.
These are my Mardi Gras beads from New Orleans.
Oh, nice.
They've got a special name. Can't remember what it is, but they're my Mardi Gras beads.
Mardi Gras, lots of Mardi Gras beads.
Yeah. I didn't actually go to Mardi Gras. I went to a different festival, which I thought was kind of a lot better. It was called, I would like to go to Mardi Gras, but this was a festival with a name. It's a really good festival. It's really, I recommend this festival to everybody. It's in April because it was my 50th birthday.
Oh.
And I went with a group of girls. 4 of us went over, and yeah, so we hung out in New Orleans and we went to this festival with a name, And it was a little bit, people from Nottingham might know Hockley Hustle. This was like a bigged up version of that. So there was massive street stages on each street outside, plus loads of venues with different acts, plus people in the street with music. Just loads and loads of music, and we just saw so much music. We saw some really old soul stars. We saw, you know, some women in their 70s that were still belting it out, like really like, whoa, that is a powerful voice. We saw some Latin stuff and salsa stuff, and we saw, my favorite act though was oh no.
We've pulled out all the memory stops today.
We have. I can't believe this. I got a picture of him on my phone and everything.
It feels like we've done this on purpose, but we haven't. Because
no,
like we didn't really have this problem last time.
we didn't. Let's not do memory as a theme again. It's obviously triggering something in the back of
my God, what are we getting ourselves into with this whole thing?
This band has won a Grammy. And it's a black guy that plays a squeeze box, and it's kind of a mixture of Cajun and funk and soul, and it's really, really good, and like Zydeco, and all mixed up. And this tall, thin guy with a beard who plays a fiddle, and they did dueling banjos with the squeeze box and the fiddle, and they were running around a stage, and then they were running around the audience. And then they called some people up, and I ended up on stage shaking a tambourine. So I have performed in New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's a really cool festival. So yeah, so these are my New Orleans beads.
Check us with the jet setting greens.
I know. Fancy that, both on the same continent, same country.
Yeah.
Well, my cardigan came from the charity shop on Mansfield Road in Nottingham.
That's all right.
We should wrap up. So this has been Green Memory.
I can't remember what this has been.
We're wearing green. It's got to be something like that. So that's it from me, Lytisha.
That's it from me, Jeanette.
And we'll see you again next time on Multiple Shenanigans.
Bye.